In 1998, three scientists made a massive discovery, and that discovery changes everything about how we age. What they discovered was that L-arginine, which is an amino acid, is a signaling molecule in the body, and it gets the body to produce nitric oxide. So my name is Sinead O'Connor, and I am very happy to be joined by my colleague Keith Robinson. And I would just like to make the point that we are not giving medical advice. If you need medical advice, we encourage you to attend your physician or healthcare practitioner. So Keith, you are, I would say, an expert in this whole area. You have many years of experience. And so I'm going to hand over to you to open up this little presentation.
Thanks, Sinead, and I'm delighted to be here. So I suppose my first introduction to nitric oxide was 17 years ago, because I was told at that time that it was now possible to reverse cardiovascular disease by increasing nitric oxide production. But of course, Mr. Skeptical had to prove it to himself, and I had my own vascular system analyzed. At the time, I was 46, but my cardiovascular age was that of a 40-year-old. I followed a protocol that we teach people now, which helps improve the blood quality, helps detox the organs, helps take down inflammation, but also helps the body to make enough nitric oxide to start cleaning the arterial system. And 90 days later, my cardiovascular age was that of a 22-year-old. So I'd come down from a 40-year-old to a 22-year-old in 90 days. 2 months later, I had it checked again, and I'd come down to a teenager. So that was all the proof I needed. And then I set out on educating people, sharing the information, and guiding them on to do the exact same thing. And love it ever since.
Yes.
What most people don't realize is, as time goes on, they make less and less nitric oxide. I'll actually put up a slide here which will give a very good picture of what I'm talking about. Click share, show this picture. This is what's going on in people's arterial system. Tell me if that's showing up okay.
Yeah, it's showing up.
So when we're in our 20s, we have a clean, elastic, and free-flowing arterial system, but we are manufacturing enough nitric oxide to keep it that way. What happens then is, as we get older, we are not able to make as much. So by the time somebody's at their 40s, they are down to 50% nitric oxide production of what they made in their 20s. And as we start to build up plaque in the arteries, we are causing issues. Number one, we're causing stiffness in the arteries. And number two, we are starting to restrict the flow of blood getting through. And as we get to our 60s, we're down to 15% nitric oxide production of what we made in our 20s. Now, the problem keeps getting worse and worse because there's not enough nitric oxide to clean the arterial system. And this is why people end up with high cholesterol and high blood pressure, because the blood flow is restricted passing through the narrowing spots. And those spots that are receiving less blood supply keep requesting the brain to request the heart to rise in pressure to get the blood flow there. So unless you actually fix this problem, you are not solving anything, you are only hiding symptoms. So going on blood pressure medication just tells the heart not to listen to the body. This is the problem that needs to be solved: increasing nitric oxide production, melt the plaque, clean the arteries, restore the blood flow. Blood pressure comes back down to normal. Cholesterol lowers down because you don't need the extra cholesterol that has been made by the liver because of cracks and tears in the arterial system. So it's very simple to understand when you're looking at it on the screen there. You can see exactly why people end up in trouble cardiovascularly.
Yes. And Keith, you are very experienced in terms of having carried out a lot of cardiovascular screening. Now, obviously, we have to say you are not a doctor or anything, but you did collaborate quite closely, didn't you, with Dr. Joe Prendergast, who was the doctor that formulated ProArgi9. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I got trained on a device called a B-Pro, which is a class 2 medical device for doing cardiovascular screenings. And class 2 means it's a medical device, but a non-medical person can be trained to operate it.
Yeah.
And actually, Dr. Joe signed my training form after completing the training of doing the B-Pro cardiovascular screening. So I've done thousands of vascular screenings, and we can measure the arterial stiffness, the central aortic pressure. We can actually see the waveform, which tells me how the blood flow is pushing out from the heart and how the rebound wave is coming back at the bifurcation point for the legs. So there's a lot of information can be gotten from doing the vascular screening, and it gives people a picture of what's going on inside, but it gives them probably 10 years ahead of time finding out what's going to be happening down the road.
Right. Yeah. And can you share a sample outcome
Sure.
of the screening that you did?
Yeah, I'll share the vascular screening of an 85-year-old gentleman that I was asked to help, and I have actually 2 screenings here 90 days apart.
Yeah.
And so when I met him first, his blood pressure, you can see brachial pressure here, systolic and diastolic, 167/95. That's the normal blood pressure that somebody has checked on their arm. Now, that's a high pressure because 120/80 would be what we call average.
Yeah.
But it is sort of thought that as we get older, it is accepted that these figures will go up a little bit, especially the systolic. And as we get older, they sort of allow for 10 points higher and 10 points higher every 10 years.
Okay.
But these figures are rising because the body is having trouble getting blood flow somewhere. But 90 days later, using the Vital 3 protocol of Proarginine, Mystify, and Phytolife, his blood pressure dropped back to 131/77 because the more parts of the body that are receiving the level of blood supply it's looking for, it stops asking the heart to rise in pressure, and everything goes back to normal. Whereas blood pressure medication will instruct the heart to lower down on pressure, but you're not fixing the actual problem.
Yeah.
I have a little thing in my head all the time when I hear somebody saying, yes, I have something under control, but I'll be on medication for life for it. And I get, that's a red flag saying, no, it's not under control. It's only hiding the symptoms continuously, because if it was sorted, you'd only need it temporarily.
Yes.
Another figure here that's really important is central aortic systolic pressure, which is the blood pressure in the heart at the left ventricle as the heart is pumping. So he was working at a pressure of 162. And if you look at the average ages and the average pressures here, you'd have to extrapolate this data all the way down to an average 185-year-old person to work at a pressure of 162.
Wow.
So really, that was a disaster waiting to happen. But again, because of using the V3 and opening up that blood flow and the body repairing, it turned off a lot of that messaging asking the heart to rise in pressure. So now his pressure dropped 40 points to 122 within 90 days. Which happens to be the average pressure of an 80 to 90-year-old person. So he dropped 100 years in his heart pressure in 3 months.
In 3 months.
And then another figure that's important here is radial augmentation index. It's like the percentage stiffness of the arteries is the way I explain it. So he was working at 107% stiffness, would be similar in age to central aortic pressure, very much up there. But 90 days of space, he dropped his radial augmentation index down to around 80% stiffness. The only way you drop that figure is by melting plaque and cleaning the arteries and getting flexibility back.
Yeah.
So that's how much cleaning went on in the vascular system. The last thing that's actually, I think, quite important, once you understand waveforms, this point here I'm pointing at is the heart pumping out blood at the left ventricle. And when it goes out there, it goes down and it bifurcates for the 2 legs. And down at the bifurcation point, there's a rebound wave that bounces back. So your blood flow should be going off down the legs. But in his situation, that's the heart pumping out blood. It goes left to right. It rebounds over here, but his rebound wave bounced back so fast it passed out the wave going out and rebounded on the left-hand side. I know this because the radial augmentated pressure is showing up at a +4, and it should not be a plus, it should be a minus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's telling me there's no blood flow getting down his legs.
Wow.
It's all bouncing back.
Yeah, yeah.
But 90 days later, he had much better blood flow going down his legs because his rebound wave slowed down to a -10.
Mm-hmm.
So in the red waveform, that's his heart pumping out blood, and his rebound wave is actually here now. So he's in the process of remodeling his entire waveform, and that's only the first 90 days.
Wow. And 90 days really does seem to be that magic number, Keith, doesn't it? Which is, I mean, we've seen people, feeling the benefits of going on the V3 protocol within a few weeks, but certainly 90 days seems to be a very significant point, which is a very short space of time.
Yeah, we'd always tell people to allow 90 days to evaluate properly,
Yes.
because things happen at different speeds within different bodies.
Yes.
And it's working closely with each individual, because some people might need a higher level of fuel than somebody else. And that's where the guidance comes in from somebody who knows what they're doing. 90 days is a long time when your body is fast reversing the problem that was building up slowly over many, many years.
Yes. Absolutely.
And you could have somebody who is maybe have highish blood pressure, and they're taking their own blood pressure every day. And I've seen people's blood pressure starting to come down even within the first week.
Yes.
It's starting. The body's reacting to nitric oxide production. Blood flow is starting to get where it needs to get to, and the body's altering.
Yeah.
And I remember a surgeon rang me one day and asked me to help his brother, who had blood pressure issues, and he was on 2 medications at that time. So I was working closely with him. He was taking his own BP figure every day and taking a picture and sending it to his brother. And his brother would tell him, okay, now lower that medication, now lower that medication. But that man was off his medications with his blood pressure perfect within 6 weeks.
Wow. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I do think also it's important to mention that, this route is a route that is suitable for people who are prepared to, look at a natural solution. It's not necessarily something that, you're not going to find consultants or GPs recommending it. And that's what I mean by this is that, it's a choice you make whether you're going to listen to your own body and take control of your own health and make a decision. I feel this is something worth exploring and doing it. It's about really personal autonomy and choice, which I think is very important.
Well, I would imagine it makes the most common sense to gather all the information and make an informed decision.
Yes.
But if you're only listening to one side, and you only have that information, you are missing out on the whole picture, and therefore you're only following one person's ideas.
Perspective.
And perspective.
But also, I think it's also very, very important to focus on the outcomes. What are the likely outcomes?
Yeah.
And really that brings me very nicely to the High Desert Heart Institute study, which Dr. Siva Arunasalam conducted in 2009.
Yes.
Now, you're more familiar with that than I am, even though I am quite familiar with it. But this is very, very much to my point about, are you looking for solutions? Do you genuinely believe that, your health issue or challenge can be solved in this way? And I suppose I would ask an honest question to anybody, which would be, okay, so you're on medication for 5 years, and what's your quality of life like? What's your energy like? Are you going to get actually better?
Yeah.
Or what? And I think that's a pretty important point. But back to the High Desert Heart Institute study.
Yeah, that was Dr. Siva Arunasalam decided to do a clinical study paid for by himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only part that Synergy Worldwide had was to provide them with the product, and that was just using Proarginine Plus. I think they would have actually even got better results if they could use the Proarginine, the Mystify, and the Vitalife.
Yes.
But because this study was only on Proarginine, they gave them 20 grams a day. So that's 4 sachets, 2 a.m., 2 sachets p.m.
Yeah.
And they picked 35 people who were end-stage heart disease patients. Now, 2 of them pulled out just before it started because they got the option, they got an opportunity to get a transplant of an organ.
Okay.
And they took the transplant instead of going on the study.
Yes.
But I know one of the guys, his video is up on YouTube. He was actually planning out the music for his funeral. That's how bad he was when he decided to go on the study. But he was an engineer by profession. So when he realized that we're going to collect 7,000 points of data, he said, okay, I'm not sure about this, but I'll have all the data anyway. That was the way he was looking at it.
Yeah. Can I actually fill in something there, Keith?
Yeah.
He was inside in hospital on drips.
Yes.
He had congenital heart failure. He had renal failure, and he had bypass failure all concurrently.
Yes.
And so he was actually concerned about medical costs.
Yeah.
And he said to the hospital staff, I want to go home. And the hospital staff said to him, if you go home, you will most likely die. And he said, I would rather die at home than die in hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just important part of the story, you know.
Yeah.
As it turned out, the following day, he had an appointment to see Dr. Siva at the clinic. And so I'm going to hand over to you, back to you again there.
I mean, it's a fabulous story because he decided to go on the study for that reason only. He didn't think it was going to do much for him, but he wanted the data, being an engineer. And glory be to God, he massively improved. His testimony on YouTube would blow your mind because he solved his problems.
Yes.
The body fixed itself. In fact, any patient that was on a transplant waiting list who went on the study was taken off the transplant waiting list within 90 days.
Which is phenomenal.
And I was talking to Dan Austin, who is the clinical nurse director in the High Desert Heart Institute. He was doing an event in London a few years later about vitamin D, and I went over to him. A couple of us had a good chat with him, and we asked him about what's the story with the people who took part in the study and then were able to use the Mystify and the Vitalife after the 90 days.
Yes.
He said a year down the road, they were either off their medications completely or had reduced them by 98%.
Wow. Which is phenomenal.
These were people that were really 1 foot in the grave, you know.
Yeah. Actually, Angelo says in one of the videos that like he was on oxygen 24/7 prior to going on the study. He was off the oxygen and his kidney function returned to normal. So he actually says that his creatinine levels were 0.9 and apparently 0.7 is that of a teenager.
Yes.
Imagine that. And this is a man who was like 90 days before that on death's door.
Exactly. You see, again, if you were only listening to one side of the story, you'd be gone.
Yeah.
He'd be out of it at this stage. They'd have been using the music that he sorted out for his funeral. But instead of that, this made logical sense to him to try it. We've watched all these things happen for people over the last 17 years. I've watched them happen. We've seen people get off dialysis. We've seen people solve every type of health challenge you could think of because the body is designed to fix itself when it has the fuel and when it has the circulation. But there's no fuel left in the food.
Yes. And so to that point, I think it's useful. So the High Desert Heart Institute study only provided Proarginine Plus to patients. So I think it would be useful for us to talk about the V3 protocol, Keith,
Yes.
because, you know, it's useful, I think, just to talk through that.
Yeah, well, that's the reason it's a V3 protocol, because, as I often say to people, there's no point in circulating Big Macs. You
Yes.
have to circulate nutrition.
Yeah.
And if you ate a plate of salad 50 years ago and you want the same level of nutrition today, you'd have to sit down and eat 47 plates of salad to get that amount of nutrition. Now, who's going to do that?
You couldn't possibly do it.
Very few people eat enough greens. Very few people are getting organic anything. And what happens is we end up eating the food we buy in the supermarket, which is over processed, which is God knows how long before that was plucked.
Yes.
What transport was involved, what sprays were involved, what everything was involved.
Yeah.
And what happens is we're instead of the food nourishing us, it's actually poisoning us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Mystify and the Vitalife is there to nutritionally fill the gap between whatever we are getting from whatever sources and bring the body up to a level of fuel it's never seen before. So we have live raw berries, which is the Mystify, live raw greens, which is the Vitalife. And we're talking about live raw foods where the raw ingredients are tested down to parts per trillion to make sure there's no traces of herbicides, insecticides, GMOs, or heavy metals. And parts per trillion happens to be down to 1 drop of water in 21 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Now, there's nobody else doing that level of testing.
Yes.
Every 30 mils of Mystify, antioxidant-wise, is equivalent to eating 3.5 kilos of raw fruit.
Can you just share an image of what the Mystify looks like, Keith, if you don't mind?
I can. Give me 1 second to get into that.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's not there.
Or the V3, just even the
Yes,
image.
I need to just I need to open up that PowerPoint because that one has closed on me.
Oh, no.
Not to worry. I can show you something else in the meantime. Oh, there it is. I have it bringing up. Yeah, this is the Vital 3. Minimize that, share that, and which one are you in? There you are. I have so many tabs open.
I know.
And then I opened up the other one, and then I said, where's she gone to? Share, and open this PowerPoint. Okay. That's the Vital 3.
Yeah.
So per Arginine Plus, every sachet is 5 grams of pure elemental arginine. So we're looking at working with people as to how many sachets they need to make that difference in the body, because everybody, as I said, has a different. Some people have blockers to nitric oxide production, and you're going to have to give enough arginine to override the blocker. Yes. And that's why one person might get a reaction on 1 sachet a day. Someone else might have to go to 3 to get the same reaction.
Yeah.
But then your Mystify is your live raw berries, and your Vitalife is your live raw greens. So approximately, I call maintenance dosage 2 bottles of Mystify in a month, 2 bottles of Vitalife in a month, and 2 boxes of arginine in a month. But for the first 3 months, people may need to go stronger than that to get on top of a problem, because some people's problems are quite serious. So you have to throw serious fuel at a serious problem.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess I'm conscious of the time. But I do think another important point to make before we wrap up is the fact that, 2 points actually. The first one is that in December, Euromonitor, which is an independent body, announced that ProArginine Plus is the highest quality L-arginine product in the world. Now, that is a serious accreditation. And to be fair, the kind of results that we have spoken about on this call are an indication of the quality of the product, without a doubt. And of course, at that point, I also need to add in the fact that a year ago, I had a coronary artery calcium scan. And so a guy I know had said to me, well, Sinead, you're in the business of selling heart supplements. You should go for a CAC scan. So I said, fine, I'm all about being evidence-based. Went and paid €300 for my scan. And you know what? It was money very well spent.
Yeah.
And my score, so this guy actually, he was 40 and his own score was 30. It's important to put things into context. So scores can go from zero but to hundreds and thousands. And generally it's accepted that the higher the score, the higher your risk of having a heart attack. And my score, and I am 22 years older than him, I don't need to say what age I am, but I may have given it away already. My
Yes. Anyone that can add.
yeah. My score was 0.5.
Yeah.
Which is
That's a clean arterial system.
Yeah, and actually the I can't think of the man's name now, but he made a film called The Widowmaker, and he was an athlete. I think he might have been a triathlete, and actually his CAC score was 1,000.
Wow.
So this is all to the point of how important it is to clean your cardiovascular system.
And Terry went for one too lately, and she's 70 odd, and she came out with a score of zero. Yeah.
Her score is 0. Now she's using Proarginine a lot longer than I am, but
a lot longer. Yeah.
It's amazing. But the other significant point that I want to make is that a study came out of Qingdao University in Japan in December. Now, it was an initial animal study, but nonetheless very important. And it showed benefits of L-arginine in treating Alzheimer's disease in mice. And I think it's also very important to add at this point, though, that Proarginine and L-arginine are already clinically approved, as we have seen, in the High Desert Heart Institute. Like, it's not as if that study was dealing with an item that didn't have a clinical track record. There are thousands and thousands of studies on PubMed about L-arginine.
In fact, there's about 200,000 peer-reviewed published articles on arginine and nitric oxide.
Yeah.
Proarginine Plus was also in the physician's desk reference in the US has been the highest quality arginine complexer available in the world. So everything is backing it up.
Yeah.
The only thing people are missing on is the information, and number one, that it's there.
Yes.
And number two, how to use it properly.
Yes, absolutely. And really, I think to wrap up, I would be saying to people, first and foremost, like, there are so many potential solutions out in the market for so many different conditions. But really, the question to ask is, does this truly have the potential to change the quality of my life, to help me recover from whatever illness it is, or just to actually, if you're into anti-aging and want to give yourself the best chance possible, as Keith did, changing his biological age from 47 down to a teenager. Yeah. These are the kind of questions to be asking.
Yeah.
So have you anything else to add, Keith, at this point?
Yes, this never look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
Here, it's possible. I have watched people reverse every type of health challenge you could think of.
Yeah.
Like we helped Fahad there in the UK, who was bedridden with MS. He's walking around fine with 0 medications. We have a list as long as our arms of people who have corrected their own health challenges because the body was able to address the problem because it now got the fuel in the circulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no issue. And from a brain function perspective, there's several problems. Number one, a lack of blood flow.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, a lack of cholesterol.
Yes.
Now, that's going to sound a bit odd, but we cannot repair the myelin around the brain without cholesterol. But most people are being feared of cholesterol. They're put on cholesterol-lowering medications, which then leave a shortage. And when there's a shortage, you can't repair the myelin in the brain. And then you have messaging shorts and things not functioning the way they should do. So there's, again, it's about gathering the information and don't just listen to one source for it.
Yeah. Well, the question to ask, as I said, is, will this truly help me? And of course, the other huge point that we forgot to mention is that there is a 90-day, no quibble, money-back guarantee with your first order.
Yeah. No, I mean, where would you get it? You can try something out for 90 days. If you feel it's been no benefit at all, you can get 100% refund.
Yeah.
Now, I never see people having to collect that
Yeah.
guarantee.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets results. But
Yes.
it's great peace of mind that it's there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're just coming up to 30 minutes, Keith. So thank you so much for your time and your expertise. You are a fountain of knowledge. And until the next time.